Today on Art Books on Tape, we talk to artist Patrick Hoelck about his book Polaroid Hotel and how he is transferring that book into a mobile application. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Let's get started. Hey, Patrick, how's it going?
Going good. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for coming to Art Books on Tape.
Thanks for having me.
So our guest today, Patrick Hoelck, we're going to do something a little bit different for our fifth show. While we will be talking about an art book, we're also talking about that art book becoming an app, which is something I'm really interested in. So let's just jump right into it. Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about the book that we're talking about today?
We're talking about Polaroid Hotel, which I'm not certain when I did it. What was it, 2 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago I was shooting a massive book project, and I knew that it wasn't coming out anytime soon. So I started to put together Polaroid Hotel, which was a series of my life and kind of behind the scenes of my career of just shooting random Polaroids and having fun with something that was light and easy. At the time when I was doing Hotel, the images in Hotel, I was shooting huge crews and a lot of lights and all kinds of stuff. So the Polaroids just became kind of an escape back to just a minimal stance on it. It didn't have any stuff with us.
So it wasn't like you were shooting a film on these and these were the Polaroids from the film.
No,
it was just a digital shoot
yeah.
and just grabbing the Polaroid because it was quick and easy.
Photography always started with me and a subject in a little apartment in between a music video and a commercial career. And I always have this place where I always like to just go back to camera person, me, camera, and a subject. I think it just keeps me fresh from, the other expression, which is 10 grip trucks and a lot of lights and a lot of crew of, 50 or 60
Sure.
people.
Well, I think Herbert's has a great quote where, he's out in some crazy desert or something like that. And, it was like him and his assistant, I think, had a reflector. And it was him, his assistant with a reflector, a camera, and a model. And somebody went, PA ran up to him and was like, oh, there's like two giant 16-wheeled grip trucks. And, PA's like, what do you need me to get? And, or the line was something like, oh, this is all I need. That's for the client. It was like the client needs the huge truck and the boom and all these things to make them feel important. But at the end of the day, you just need a camera and a subject and some amazing light.
Yeah, it's true. I came from a school of I started in music video and commercial, which was in motion, which confuses everyone to this day. And then I got into print kind of accidentally. But what I learned from some of the masters was the grip and lighting and how to utilize it and to create, false environments that were more realism and all kinds of different stuff. So I actually enjoy both, Yeah. I enjoy nothing and I enjoy a lot. It's funny, maybe the middle will be somewhere I land one day.
But it's interesting in terms of that high production value. I mean, you're recreating those simple environments in so many ways, but you've got 40 people, so you can, recreate that morning light or that hard afternoon kind of what have you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to have that control. Now it seems to be everything seems to be on camera flash or natural light, and I think that's budgetary. I think that a lot of these shoots are,
And so how was the talent? I'm sure it was funny for the talent too, for you to, grab some of these people and pull them out of, they're probably in front of a red and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you're like, hey, hold on, let me just pop this little Polaroid in this, huge setup. What was their reaction usually?
A lot of people go right to fondness. They go right to, I had that. I do that. I like this. It's funny. It's just, it brings people all back to a base point.
Yeah.
And everyone has a different story about when that was or when they saw it, the miraculousness of an instant film. And also the unpredictability is what I'm about.
Sure.
You never know what's coming.
Yeah.
You could never. The
Well,
other one was so
you can't,
knowing what's
but
coming.
you can't. It's like it's so funny in today's time of Snapchats and things like that, where it automatically erases because you want it to disappear. It's like these are things that don't erase. It's almost the opposite of Snapchat. It comes out
Yeah.
of nothing and stays forever.
But like in the sense of going into another company like Instagram and the filters, you always look kind of beautiful in a
Sure.
Polaroid. It seems like, a lot of women are like, oh, I like the Polaroid, or
Well,
I look great,
yeah, and I think as you and I understand, like that's all that old film stock and all those all that old lenses and those old quality of light that you just can't get anymore.
There was a softness that
Yeah.
that is kind of missing from the glass and from the chemical. That it's more. I always used to say it's like porno because porno went from film to digital,
Sure.
and when it did, it got so honest and so no barrier
Less
that
forgiving.
you felt like you were in the room
Yeah.
with them, which could be aesthetically a style, but we used to be scared of it. It was
Sure.
like so flat and so.
Sure. Too real.
I saw on a boat, somebody had this crazy boat with a TV, and they had the wrong setting on the plasma, and it had shown a big film, like something like Heat or something Michael Mann did, and the digital output wasn't the right setting, and then to see that was the thing you hope never happens to you in your whole life.
Sure.
It looked like
Well, as
it was
a
the
creator,
monitor tap.
Yeah, as a creator, you're like, that's the last way I would ever want to have my thing being seen.
Interesting is the people that comment, like maybe 2 people out of 50 that were screening it were like, "Yo, it's all
Sure.
all wrong."
Yeah.
But most people were just like, "Whatever." It's just like, I'm not looking at that. I'm just watching the movie, and we're like, "Whoa, what happened to the cinematography?"
But it is so interesting, just in the sense of imagery is that one language that we do share, and there is certain things where I'd accustom that to seeing the handwriting, where it's like some people are like, oh, I see the words, but we're noticing the actual handwriting, the inflection and the tone and stuff like that. But it was kind of an interesting thing in the sense where now with digital you have that flat look and you're creating all these old palettes, you're creating all these old things where if you had a Polaroid in the 70s, you got that kind of pastel-y, milky whites and all that kind of stuff.
And to say one good thing in the industry, I've always heard it's going to change, it's getting better, until actually Alexa. When the Alexa
Sure.
camera came, you saw the vision that they've been bragging about for the last 10 years. That one has finally actually come to a place. If you get the right old anamorphic lens, you throw it on an Alexa, it is fascinating.
Sure.
But until then, it's all been kind of a hustle.
Sure. But so now going back a little bit, kind of going back to, this idea of, the app for the Polaroid Hotel. Why don't you tell people, what you're doing with that?
Well, I decided that I'd like to do something in the technical space, and what it was is I thought that we would turn the book into app format. And we started saying, well, if it's going to be in a digital format, what makes that different?
Totally. It's paper under glass.
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
point.
So it's not very fascinating. But in the new world of disclosure, we decided to do commentary. So the picture, as you're looking at the images and scrolling across,
Awesome.
you could push a listen button, which allows you to hear the story, the behind the scene of the
Sure.
image. So just things like that were different than we couldn't do with a physical book.
Well, and that is what's so interesting in the sense of, really at the end of the day, a book is just a vessel for information. And, as is a movie, as is a website. And so it is so interesting to see these hybridized versions of books, movies, and websites where you really can, use these normal storytelling methods across all these different mediums. I'm totally fascinated in that.
The first time I saw that was really in the Criterion collections. We used to get all the films that we were obsessed with and then listen to the director commentary.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a similar route, but in this app you can listen or not listen, or you could keep scrolling and listen to one story. But I just went in a studio and a microphone, looked at the image, and just ran through everything I could remember in the course of the day we were recording it.
Sure. So it's a narrated, curated experience by you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like funny because I didn't really have a filter, so some of it's a little real when I hear it. I'm like, oh, I said that.
You're like, ooh.
Oops.
I wonder how they'll feel when
Sure.
they hear me say that.
If they ever hear it, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and what's kind of been, I know that you're yet to release it, and what are kind of the reactions that you're getting from people in terms of, what are they enjoying, so to speak, in this experience?
So far, they're liking the commentary aspect the most because they are familiar. Some of my friends that are playing with it have seen the book.
Yeah.
So they like just the functionality. It's very. I went hardcore in simplicity because I am, an idiot. So I made the app idiot
Sure.
balanced. It's very
Idiot-proof.
clean. It's very stark. It's just like you touch this and this happens. There's nothing to look for.
Sure. That's awesome. And then what other kind of developments and things like that are you doing within this app? So is the idea then to have this story and have it be a story experience that people can kind of follow through and guide and curate?
It has the origination of the project, the conception of the book, the story of the book and the shows. It has footage of that. It also has an installation film I built for at the time to display the work. And it has a camera setting where you could shoot Polaroids from your iPhone.
Wow.
And you can, I built my own filters with a technology kid.
Sure.
And went over those. So you have the option of a camera, you have the book, you have the commentary to the book, and you have 2 films that haven't really been seen.
Well, and that's such an interesting thing in the sense of like so often what art books are is just a reflection of lifestyle, of what's happening. And what's great about this is it's giving extra elements in the sense of, when you look at a book, you can always just assume a lot of the times. And that's why I love doing these podcasts, is because what was the artist actually thinking? What was the creator actually doing when they put these things together? And that's exactly what you're doing with these podcasts. But then at the same time, once you've had that experience and listening to that story, it's an amazing opportunity to then give people the ability to create. Which I'm a huge fan of, thinking in the sense of, the artists, in my opinion, are the new rock stars. Back in the 60s and 70s, everybody wanted to have a rock band, and that was the way to be a rebel and fight the man. And now, obviously, pop songs and there's, singers and sellouts, and it's all part of the system. And the artist is that new thing. And so anytime someone can transfer an opportunity for people to create, I think is really exciting and fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to see what someone does with it or someone notes or comes up with, because sometimes it's not your intention and it takes you on a whole new direction.
Yeah, and what are some of the kind of more notable things that people have noted in the images that you would never have thought of?
Oh, I guess it's what you shoot. It reminds me, I did a course with the kids with blood diseases that had to go on to what is it called, the dialysis. But there are special kids that are waiting for organs, but they were able to do 72 hours in the real world before they would have to do a dialysis. So they were more fortunate than the ones that were on the floor above in the hospital that were 24/7 monitored dialysis and were waiting. But we gave them all cameras in a program. And what you saw was crazy, because everyone would tell you something that they probably would never tell a therapist, never tell me, never tell a family member. The visuals, for example, one kid always shot food, and he was into like the food and the restaurants and the signage, and it was food related. One kid always shot himself as a shadow. He would only shoot himself as a reflection off of and then you would see his trail. His trail was, he took this bus into like East LA and he would shoot his pattern. So it was so revealing of him.
But he was shooting his observations.
Completely, but it was interesting that he would only shoot himself as a figure in a shadow in a place,
and especially in someone who's dealing with that aspect of having to go get this dialysis and constantly having this clock.
They were adorable. They were kids mostly, and one of them would drink a 32-ounce Coca-Cola knowing he was going to be in 20 hours early and have to suffer more. But he just wanted his 32-ounce. Exactly, wanted his Coke.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that's so interesting as well, too. It's like, you think about it, with words, we have to, like, think about what we're trying to communicate and transfer them into these abstract things. But images, you and I can look at a reflection of a person and understand those feelings and emotions so much quicker and have paragraphs of words. And I think that's a great way for people to communicate and interact with each other. Like, I had a project where I was interacting with people and asking them to write about their portraits, and it was the most amazing thing to see the people, obviously 80% are, just sign their name and they're over it. But it's like amazing to see what people open up about and what they want to communicate about, and giving them this new opportunity and this new way to communicate makes it great.
Yeah, it's crazy. It depends on the day too. Sometimes you don't want to discuss any of it and you want it to speak for itself, and other times you could talk for 3 weeks about an image.
Yeah.
I feel that way anyway.
Yeah, or even come back 3 years later and have something completely different to say about those images as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, also just going back to these kids, it's an amazing aspect of you. You know, I mean, in a way, you get to transfer this celebrity to them through creating images in this likeness, in this way, and giving them these sound bites to communicate that story that you've gotten to live. They get to live vicariously through you, which can happen not just for children who are sick, but people all over the world, which I think is really, really amazing.
No, it's cool to watch things take life like that.
Absolutely. And so are there like social components where people are like posting this stuff on Facebook? And,
you can post it on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and all the shareables. And it's very simple. You could set your thing up just to do whatever you want it to go.
Wow. And that's amazing. And so when am I going to be able to download this?
We are looking at probably August. It would be our latest release. So
beautiful.
We'd like to do July, but we're thinking August just to get all of our marketing strategies together. Sure. We have little films and commercials we made for it, just for the web, just small green grass. We've done everything ourselves with this. It's just that's why it's taken forever.
Yeah,
because it was a learning experience, and just right when you get close to something will change. Or I'm guilty of going, we should have commentary. Why wouldn't it have a camera? And the engineers are going, it's called feature creep in the tech space. It's the worst nightmare. It's like normally you stick to a plan and you're done. And
that's
how it started that way. It was like,
think,
why don't we make a book app? And then I'm like, well, this is boring.
Yeah.
Let's make it do stuff.
Exactly. And I think that's something that's really interesting in the sense that, film and photography and all of these like very fundamental reflections of society and art form started as very fundamental basic utilities are coming and turning into an art form. And I think that's happening with apps where, because I have this problem all the time. I jokingly call myself an entrepreneur and have tons of app ideas. And really for me, I look at, an app as I would a song or a paintbrush or some sort of medium of art. And it's just interesting now where it's, it's still such a time where it's like, the banks obviously have more money, so it's like, okay, developer. Yeah, of course I understand that you need to go make this for a bank because they're actually paying you, where I'm just trying to have a, philosophical, creative, interactive conversation through this technology.
It's so tricky. I got lucky and went through a startup place called Start Engine, and it taught me the life lessons with we had a funding pool, we had a legal team, and we had engineers, and we are so different. Engineers and the artistic side couldn't be more different. It's almost combative. So you really learn a lot going through that. This app was done outside of that. I closed in frustration. I closed the whole concept that we got the funding for because it just became just a drag and a lot of time.
Well, and I think that's such an interesting point that you bring up. Is it's how do you communicate with those two different types of groups? The people that are really great at building this stuff, and obviously their brain works in that way to build this, and then the people who are, trying to ask these new conversations and have a continuous conversation as opposed to like a closed.
You have to
equation.
bring all your fantasy, all your dream down to it swipes right with your finger, or else they're over you. They don't want to hear any emotion or expressiveness, and of course everyone's ready to go to, the $175,000 a year engineering job or more.
Of course.
And
but I think those people, it's so interesting though, because I think there's more and more those people that are coming out. They just need to be allowed to be who they are in a strange way, where meet people who are doing great stuff and then go, I see other people do that, I can do that. And that's why I think it's just so important to just do exactly what you're doing and just put your head down and just get it done and put it out there.
You really can't know until you're deep in it. And these companies that are mind-blowing, like the Ubers and stuff, they're just it's fascinating to watch these things just quickly consolidate. Good concept. I think the next things will be in probably healthcare and outside of like the outside of the social realm and all that kind of stuff.
Well, what I'm so interested to see is in seeing such an easy transfer over now that you've created this content is Oculus, and somebody being able to sit in their living room and all of a sudden be, in your wonderful Beverly Glen house.
It's
and,
crazy, yeah.
sit there and have you
I'm not
actually.
at Oculus level yet.
Sure, but I mean, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, if, you can then, that's what's great, because then all of a sudden you've got, the distribution networks of, PlayStation, Xbox, when they finally equip all this stuff, and, people could be having curated fireside chats with Patrick Hoelck.
It's wild. Wild.
But yeah, all right. Well, so on that note, Patrick, thanks so much for coming in and talking about Polaroid Hotel, and we look forward to seeing that app and the many more that you're going to build after this.
Thank you. Congratulations on your new program, man. This is awesome.
Thanks so much, man. Peace.
All right.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Art Books on Tape, brought to you by This Is Not a Pipe, recorded at Green Street Studios. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Come again soon. Bye.